Hello, welcome back to Grim Survival. Today we're going to talk about, survival. It's a basic concept, survival. Something most Americans really just don't understand. I don't think most Americans have an idea of what survival truly is, or a true idea of a survival situation. Most Americans have never gone a day without food or 2 days without food. They don't know the feeling of what it's like to be really hungry, and your only thoughts are of food, to how you're going to get food, your heightened senses of food. Most Americans have never experienced this because most Americans always have had food. You can go to any corner of any town or city and find a fast food restaurant, and for $1 you can get a burger. So most Americans have no clue. For that matter, you can have a burger from any of your favorite restaurants delivered to your house, or to wherever your job site is. Most of the places in America now have food delivery services like DoorDash, that will deliver right to your work or your job, your house, wherever you are. Most places you can get it. So food is abundant. So most people just don't know what it is like to have to fend for food, or worry about if they're going to live because they don't have food. Ask yourself this: can you work your job for 1 day without eating? I mean, if you have a physical job, the answer is probably no. I've done pretty physical jobs before, and I've tried to do days without food. It's you get a knot in your stomach, and ow, it hurts. Let me tell you, when you're working real hard, it hurts to not eat, and it's really rough. When you're not doing anything, you have a moment, you take a 15-minute break from your job, and you haven't eaten that day, you crash. You want to close your eyes and just go to sleep. Wake me up when there's food. Your thoughts is just a food. That's it. Food. I want to eat. So, food. One aspect of survival. I mean, do you pack food in your emergency kits? Do you have enough food in your house? There's a lot of different survival situations you can find yourself in. Look out your front door of your mobile home and see a mile-wide tornado headed right for you. Or live on a coastal city and have a Category 5 hurricane headed right for you. Or live somewhere in California and have an earthquake. It's always looming. Wildfire in some of these places in the Northwest and California. Some places up north, there's wildfire problems. So you look out your door and you see flames falling from trees and trees on fire in your front yard. I mean, survival situations come in all shapes and sizes. But what do they all have in common? The one thing every survival situation has in common is a choice. In the beginning, that first 2 seconds of any survival situation, whether it be a combat situation, you're patrolling and suddenly you come under fire, there's a choice that you make in that first second. No matter what the survival situation is. You're on a ship out in the sea and suddenly it starts to sink. That first second, you have one thing to do. You make a choice. The choice is, am I going to die, or am I going to fight to live? That's the choice you have to make in that first second of any survival situation, no matter what it is. Even if you get lost in the woods, that moment you realize you're lost and you don't know where you're going and you don't know how you're going to get back home, you have to make that choice right there. Am I going to give up, or am I going to die? So, the government did a study several years back. I don't remember exactly when. You can look it up online. 90% of the population of the United States will die in a prolonged power outage. And we're talking more than a few weeks power outage. Months, 6 months. Well, it was within the first year. 90% of the population will die. So, let's break that down for a second. There are several studies from various psychologists that'll tell you that in a prolonged stressful situation, certain types of stressful situations where stress level is a lot above your normal average day-to-day stress, that 20% of the people will become violent. 10% of those will turn that violence inward and, they'll commit suicide. The other 10% will go release their violence into the world around them. So, you get mass shootings and school shootings and things from people that have just hit their limit and they just don't know how to deal with it. And they take it out on other people. So this is how a lot of these shootings and violent acts happen in our country. That being said, you have 327 million people in the United States, so 10% of those, that's roughly 32 million. 32 million people are going to off themselves within the first few weeks of a prolonged disaster situation, prolonged power outage, economic collapse. You know, you can't go to the grocery store and get food type of situation. Let's just call it that. You can't just go get food. So they're not gonna want to deal with it. They're just not going to. They're not going to be capable. They're not going to have the mental capacity to deal with it. So they're just going to find the nearest out, and that's usually going to be to off themselves in whatever means they determine. You know, bullet, hanging, drowning, I don't know, whatever. I don't contemplate suicide, so I couldn't tell you. The other 32 million, the violent acts, they're going to go out and they're going to start hurting people and taking their stuff. These are how marauders are probably going to be formed. 32 million very desperate people that just don't know how to handle the situation they're in, and they want food. So they're going to go start taking it from, you know, unsuspecting people. And these are people that are probably already having, you know, day-to-day mental issues. They may be on, you know, drugs to circumvent their mental problems. So you're going to see other acts besides just the violence of killings and beatings and taking things that don't belong to you. You're going to see tortures. You're going to see sexual acts. You're going to see atrocities of all types. Excuse me. So that's 20% of the population. Now the 10% that's going to go off and do the violent things, most of those are going to die by getting shot by people that are just not going to stand there and take it. Now that leaves you 80%. 80% of people still have to die. So I don't know what the percentage are of people that are dependent on medication, people who are dependent on dialysis, you know, oxygen tanks, severe asthma, diabetes, dependent on insulin. There's a good percentage of those people that are dependent on some sort of medication or assistance to keep themselves alive. Those people are not going to stand a chance in a prolonged power outage or no food situation. Because you got to think, if there's no food in the grocery stores, then most people are not showing up at work. Why do you go to work every day? Do you go to work to pay for your house, or do you go to work to make sure you're eating every day? You know, if you truly think about that, it's probably because you're eating. You want food. So food is the driving force in life. Food and water, of course. But so you got a large percentage of people that are just, they're going to be without their medication, and that their bodies are just not going to be able to deal. And yeah, they're going to die. Then you have a large portion of the population that are going to consume every resource available to them. They're going to eat every last thing in their house. They may be desperate enough to eat their own pets. I don't know, you fattened up your dog lately? So, once they have exhausted all those resources, they're the type of people that are probably more passive. They're not going to go to their neighbor's house and try to kill them and take their can of, you know, soup that's in the back of their closet or whatever. But they're not going to know what to do, and they're just going to sit there and wither, and they're going to die. You're going to have a vast majority of people that don't realize that you have to purify water in some kind of a grid down situation. Water purification is a thing. If you've ever worked anywhere near or around a water purification center, you will realize that they take sewer water, the water that you are flushing down your toilet, and they are taking that into vast tanks in these water purification places. They are cleaning that water, and then they are pumping it back into the local river or stream that feeds the local reservoir, that then is pumped back into your house. You're welcome for that one. Look it up. It's true. You are showering in recycled sewer water. Keep that in mind. And cooking with it too. Yum. Alright, moving on. You're going to have to purify your water, so that means rivers, creeks, and streams, no matter what country you live in, they're polluted. And you are going to have to purify. You're going to have to, at the very least, boil that water. I would suggest getting some kind of a filter, but boiling the water is, the first thing you're going to need to do. Most people, you wouldn't believe it, but most people don't even know that. They don't. Most people have no clue that you have to boil water if you want to clean it. So these people are going to get sick. They're going to get very severe diarrhea, for one thing. Well, there's numerous different problems. They're unloading my trailer, that's why I'm bouncing. Forklifts go in and out. I shake like this, so yeah. Anyway, moving on. You're going to have to purify your water. Most people don't know this, so they're going to drink bad, dirty, nasty water. They're going to get sick. They're going to die. There's a good percentage. So, you got your water problems. You got your medication problems. People are going to just run out of food and not know where to go and get food. Not going to be able to go and get food. You're going to always have somebody who's more powerful with more weapons that is guarding the supply. Maybe the distribution center, the Walmart, the grocery store. There's a stockpile somewhere. Somebody's going to be guarding it, whether it be your local law enforcement, military, National Guard, your local thug, gang members, whoever. Somebody's got a gun and somebody's protecting that food within the first couple weeks. I guarantee you. So, if you do wander into those places, they're likely just not going to share with you. They're just going to shoot you. You're going to die. So that's pretty much it. Your 90% of your people are going to either starve to death, run out of their medications, kill themselves, or kill each other. What are you planning on doing? Bugging in is the very popular concept that most preppers have. Bug in, which means fortify your location, defend your house, defend your food. So when you got 30 people outside wanting your food, those violent acts we're talking about. Preppers going to die too. Just because you have supplies doesn't mean you can keep them. Government knows you have your supplies too. Keep that in mind. If you don't believe me, look it up. So, first thing you do is you make the choice. Am I going to survive? Am I going to fight? Second thing you do is act out what you're planning to do. You have a plan, I assume. You have supplies. You have bug out bags. You're not just going to let somebody come up and take your food. You're going to fight for it. You're going to defend it. You're going to defend your family. Successfully or not, you're going to try. So, you make the choice and you fight for your life. That's really all we can all do is fight for our life. It is a choice. It really is. The choice to survive. The choice to strive to fight. Or the choice to give up. You wouldn't believe how many people I've talked to, people I know, people that are part of my extended family that, when you pose the question, what would you do? They wouldn't do anything. They just wither away and die. They don't want to. They don't want to go on in a world that's not comfortable and, not where you can't just go to your store and get food, where you can't just go to the local restaurant or the local drive-thru and pick up a burger. They don't want to do that. They don't want to work for what they earn. They want to, in the sense you do go to work, you make your money, but that's not real work in most senses. People work in office buildings. They talk on the phone all day. That's not work. People who are they're sedentary, really. They don't do much. Jobs like mine, I'm in a truck all day, and I spend 12 hours in this truck, sometimes even more. 5 days, 6 days a week. That's a lot of hours just sitting here doing nothing. But I get out and I exercise. I take my bag and I go for walks, and I can go several miles with a 30-pound pack on my back before I need a break. Most people can't. Just can't. It's really a scary thought when you think about 32 million people that are going to be armed, desperate, starving. That's a grim thought, isn't it? So, what choice are you going to make? I've already made my choice. Now's the time to make yours. Don't wait until that last minute. Don't wait until everything's collapsing and falling around out there. Just don't wait. Do it now. right now. Make your choice right this second. You are either a survivor or you're not. There is no middle ground. There is no, the government's going to come save me. There is no, I'm going to go stay the night in the FEMA camp. Even if such places exist, they're not just going to let you stay there. You are either a working slave or you are wasting resources. They're not just going to let you stay. You think it's going to be easier just to let the government take care of you? No. You got to work. You either work for yourself or you work for somebody else, but you're going to work one way or another, or you're going to die. It's pretty grim, but this is grim survival.